Hey, hey, welcome back to the show. We're keeping it real, goes right. Fuck what you heard, it's what you're hearing in honor of DMX. We're gonna make sure you hear all the real takes today. I'm Omar, as always, joined by a guest. Actually, not as always joined by a guest, because the last few weeks I haven't been joined by a guest. But back, making his triumphant return, newly college graduated Mr. Andrew Hohenstein. What's up, Drew? Oh, wait, hold up. People can't hear you. That's on me. Tell them what's up now.
Oh, how about now? Can you hear me
There you
now?
go. Yeah, we good. We good. We can hear you, Andrew. We can hear you, and we're gonna be hearing all your wonderfully terrible takes from now on. But nah. But
Last night, so you know what? Nothing can phase me. I watched my Knicks beat Toronto last night. Nothing can phase me. I
nothing
have
can
my
phase
all
you.
black New York hat, like everybody. Um, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I have my all black New York hat.
Yeah,
It's
the
a
very yeah. That's like a very New York thing to do. Just everyone has to have one all black New York hat,
you have to, whether it's Knicks, Mets, Yankees, Jets,
or
you have to,
just a black hat.
or just yeah, it's a very New
Yeah.
York. So
Very New York thing. All right. Speaking of New York, we will be talking about your Mets at some point in this broadcast. We're also going to be talking about the NBA, talking about the MLB, talking about some trade rumors that are swirling in the NFL. But before we get to any of that, remember everyone, like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. We've gotten daily videos every single day. I just got done with a big ass WrestleMania rush, and now we're back to some regular sports. So in case you can't tell, my voice is a little hoarse, but we're going to get through this episode. All right, Andrew, you ready to kick things off?
always, let's get it.
You want to speak a little bit more into the mic?
I'm right up on top of the mic.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'll fix it. There's something I think it might be on my end. Hold up. We love technical difficulties to begin the show.
We'll be-
Yeah, did you? All right. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Let's kick things off, Andrew, by talking about Paul Pierce. ESPN fired NBA analyst Paul Pierce after the Celtics legend posted a racy Instagram live video over the weekend. The video was featured Paul Pierce in a room with what some would call exotic dancers, others would call them strippers. Either term, I believe in this case, are interchangeable at this point. ESPN declined to comment on Pierce leaving the network. Representatives for Pierce also didn't immediately respond for requests for comment. The news of Pierce's firing was first reported by Front Office Sports and then later by other outlets like Fox Sports and whatnot. Paul Pierce was an analyst for multiple years. He helped host The Jump, NBA Countdown, and several other shows. And he also won an NBA championship, in case you guys didn't know. On Monday, though, last Monday, he posted a video just of him smiling with a caption, "Big things soon. Stay tuned. Make sure you smile. Hashtag the truth will set you free." So, Andrew, it looks like Paul Pierce has made it known that he's done with ESPN as well. They're not just done with him, he's done with them. The video apparently stirred up some controversy, but it's weird to see someone like Paul Pierce, who was kind of a mainstay at ESPN, especially in their NBA coverage, just gone that quickly. What do you think led to this? What do you think of him getting fired?
I really think a lot of it had to do with the if you I don't know if any of you have ever actually seen the video. I mean, I saw like little snippets of it. People like shared and retweeted it on Twitter, and ESPN. I think they try to play themselves off as it's a family network because they try to play themselves. They're owned by Disney. You know what I mean? So they try to be a family network, and to see something like that, I think ESPN like I don't know what Paul Pierce's relationship was with ESPN leading up to that, but it looked very unprofessional. And I think he had a blunt in his hand too. I'm not entirely sure. Like the dude looked like he was on something. If you look like the way he was looking at the camera, so I don't know just what the relationship with Pierce was leading up to it, but I mean, all good things must come to an end at some point. He was a pretty good analyst at ESPN. I saw him on the Jump. I saw him on NBA Live. He used to give a lot of good takes. Dude is a champion. Dude played, had really long. He had a really long, successful career. So I just hope he's on to bigger and better things. And I mean, as we've seen before, a lot of the cast-offs from ESPN end up at Fox. So I think Paul Pierce, with his pedigree just on the court as well as his pedigree in the studio, I think he'll be back really quickly. If not on his own podcast, he'll be back quickly, probably with another network.
Yeah, that was like the first thing I thought when I heard about this. I was like, oh well, it's gonna be fine because he's probably just gonna go to FS1, and honestly, Paul Pierce going to FS1 would probably help them out because FS1 really needs help getting their NBA coverage off the ground. Because right now, all you see out of them is a lot of NFL coverage. You see, that's a lot what Undisputed talks about. They're not really a basketball show, even though they sometimes try to be. They're mostly a football show because that's where the expertise is with Shannon Sharp. Skip loves to talk about the Cowboys. It's like all he ever wants to talk about. So, I think that so they're trying to I think go in that direction a little bit, but they don't have the actual pieces to do that right now. I think when you add someone like Paul Pierce potentially, I think they still have Chris Broussard. He's like the only person on that whole entire network who's actually capable of credibly talking about basketball. So I think Paul Pierce would make a good addition for Fox Sports. He hasn't announced what he's doing yet. But, I think if he goes down that route, but back to him getting fired for a second, because it's weird because I feel like there's been things that have been worse that analysts at ESPN have done that are worse. Like there's a video of Jerry Rice after he got divorced going to a strip club and throwing ones up and he was doing commentary or doing a coverage for the Super Bowl just a few months later. There's
Cowherd's divorce from ESPN was the result of him commenting on how baseball is run by Hispanic dudes, which he wasn't wrong, but it was the way he went about presenting, his point, which was he almost used the term as if Hispanic players are uneducated, but at the same time, the trade-off is they don't go to school, but the trade-off is they spend all their time playing baseball, hence why all those kids that come from the Caribbean islands come over here and are stud baseball players. The way he presented it was what ultimately led to his divorce from ESPN. So yeah, you're right. We have seen worse, but it's a different time too. It's a really different time too. I don't know. ESPN is nobody knows how the producers at ESPN think. With what they view as professional, unprofessional, and something like that. Because remember, this is the network. I know a lot of people refer to it as woke sports network. So we don't know.
I mean, this isn't even woke. If he got fired for weed and he got fired for exotic dancers, I don't that's not even a woke thing to get fired over. That is because woke that doesn't even seem like a woke thing to get fired over. Especially considering his wife apparently was in the room when that was all going down, which makes this whole thing a little weirder. Look, do what you got to do what you want to do, and that I'm not gonna judge. But I'm just saying, it does make it, it is a little, strange, I guess. But hey, that's what it is. But what do you think about Paul Pierce if he joins Fox Sports? Would that make Fox Sports would that kind of put them on the map, maybe competing a little bit with what the structure of basketball that ESPN has and their coverage?
I think it would, because if you look at the cast at a lot of the Fox Sports network, if you look at the majority of the people that are working for Fox Sports, a lot of them, Emmanuel Ocho, Shannon Sharp, even the guys they have that are guest speakers. They have who was it? Tony Gonzalez, Reggie Bush. A lot of their guests that come on, a lot of them were football players. They even Eric Dickerson. These guys were football players. These guys were not basketball players. So I think having even the Chris Carter. Chris Carter used to have that show, the Get Up show with Nick Wright. So I think adding a guy like Paul Pierce would give them, it would help them take a step in the direction of becoming, I guess, more credible in terms of basketball, because he did play it. And that, I think, is the one thing that ESPN has over Fox right now, is just that even though both of them talk about basketball, ESPN makes sure they throw Jalen Rose in our face, Chauncey Billups, they throw Kendrick Perkins, all these guys played. So Fox more or less rules, even though ESPN has the NFL Live, which, Dan Orlovsky, they have guys that played. McAfee comes on occasionally. It's Fox more or less runs the football aspect of it. So adding a guy like Pierce with his pedigree, both in the studio and on the court, I think would help them take a step in the direction towards competing with ESPN. I do, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's only going to help them at this point. It's not going to hurt them because They essentially don't really cover basketball. They only cover it like whenever Nick Wright, throws in his little segment every now and then, or then, they have maybe stuff on their website, but no one's really reading that. Like, no one's going to I don't go to Fox Sports to find out what's going on in basketball. Like sometimes if I'm interested in a topic about football, I will go there because I know they're going to talk about it. But I've almost never heard them have big segments, big coverage about basketball. So, Fox Sports, if you're listening, it's a big in for you. Paul Pierce is a free agent, and he's honestly one of the most credible people you could probably get at this point. I think someone's throwing this around. Someone throwing around maybe Dirk would go to Fox Sports with Paul Pierce, and they could kind of start a whole kind of takeover of ESPN coverage. And I'm like, yeah, but even at that point, they would need to build it up because ESPN is just so farther ahead. Like they have Rachel Nichols, who has decades, and Wendy and all those who have decades of experience, decades of rapport with all of these players. Like Wendy literally covered LeBron's entire career.
Woj breaks news. Literally.
Yeah, Woj. I forgot, of course, the great Adrian Wojnarowski. I forgot to mention him.
Woj should be doing an interview with Rachel. He'll break news during the jump. So that's what they got to compete with. So Paul Pierce is a step in the right direction, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, they have Chris Broussard, who is no slouch, but again, Woj overtook him as far as best insiders in the game a while ago. So we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, guys, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. All right, Andrew, let's move on. Let's talk about something fun. Some fun news. We're about a year removed. Actually, let me start over. Again, my voice is killing me. We're 1 year removed from the Packers drafting quarterback Jordan Love in the 2020 NFL Draft. The Packers have not restructured Rodgers. His contract is still the same as it was. It gives them an out after next year. A lot of people, most notably Andrew, your favorite analyst, Stephen A. Smith, says that Rodgers should want out of Green Bay and should ask to be either traded or released. And it's worth to note, though, before we get into that Rodgers has said that he will not demand a trade and that while he wants to be a Packer for life, it's out of his hands and he is at peace with that. So, I guess the first question is this the time? Is his time as a Packer coming to an end?
So realistically, I think that's up to the organization whether they want to move on from him. I don't think so. I think he should finish out with the Packers. Mind you, dude, they went to the NFC Championship game last year, and he, like many others, think about it. Why did Peyton Manning only win one ring? Why did when he was in Indy, by the way? Why did Peyton Manning only win one ring when he was in Indy? He fell victim to something that so many quarterbacks in the AFC fell victim to, which was Tom Brady. So I don't necessarily think his time is up in Green Bay. That's going to be up to the organization. I do think that they have to make a decision moving forward, whether, because they did draft Jordan Love and pretty high
in the first round. They traded up into the first round to draft him. You don't take that guy if you're not going to play him soon.
Plan for him. You don't take a guy like that unless you have a plan for him. You just saw with the Jets with Darnold. They're dead set on Zach Wilson. That's why, I'm not gonna say dead set on Zach Wilson, but they're taking a quarterback since they just traded the guy who was supposed to be their franchise quarterback. So I think Aaron's gonna play it out in Green Bay, and the organization is gonna make a decision what they want to do. I don't see his time. I don't think his clock is ticking in Green Bay, though. I mean, they put it this way, dude. He's been the face of the organization since he took over, and if you move on from the face of the organization, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are Aaron Rodgers fans that they're not going to be happy, and they're going to scrutinize Jordan Love. You got to understand, you're going from a first ballot Hall of Famer to a guy that we know nothing about. Did he even take a snap last year?
Nope. Hasn't taken an NFL snap.
You're going to move on.
No preseason either, so he didn't even have preseason snaps.
So that's the decision that Green Bay has to make. Move on from a first ballot Hall of Famer who's taken you to the NFC Championship how many years? Won you a Super Bowl. You hadn't won a Super Bowl in decades. Made your team, your franchise relevant again in this dude, and you're gonna move on from that for a dude who has yet to take a snap in the NFL and a dude you traded up to draft, the organization has a tough decision to make. So that's up to them. Personally, though, I think they should stick it out with Rodgers, and Rodgers should retire a Packer. Realistically, Rodgers should retire a Packer because he is the face of the Packers and has been for as long as I can remember.
So if the question is, should Aaron Rodgers retire a Packer? I think that answer is quite simple. Yes. Will he is a different question, though. And I
We
think that was,
we
I
thought
think,
Brady would retire a Patriot, and look at what happened. He
oh,
went to
yeah.
take anything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Same thing with Tom Brady. He probably should have retired a Patriot, but he didn't because teams move on. And this is like the NFL nowadays, man. It's it is what have you done for me lately, but they're also looking towards like 10 years down the line. You know, do they want a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, even though quarterbacks now have proven they can play into their 40s? Tom Brady's the biggest proof of that. But with the Packers, I think they're going to end up moving on from him. If not the end, I think this year, like after this upcoming year, is going to be the time where they make the switch. And I'm not saying that because, I want it to happen. No, I'm saying that because they took Jordan Love in the first round. And like, even if Aaron Rodgers wins another MVP, I think they're going to make that decision because it's not even a question of who's going to be better 2-3 years down the line. It's a question of the integrity of the coaching staff, the integrity of their decision making. And we've seen a lot of staff, a lot of coaches, a lot of GMs try to save their own behind or justify bad choices. Look at Mitch Trubisky lasting 4 years in Chicago, just in that same division. And the Packers, as much as we say, they've won a lot in recent memory, it has not been because of their front office. It has not been because of their coaching. It's been because of Aaron Rodgers. Now, if the question was, should they move on? Absolutely not. You hold on to Jordan Love if you still think he's the guy. Let's see where we are 4 years down the road when Jordan Love's contract is up. And we'll see where we are. If Aaron Rodgers is still winning MVPs, then all right, bye-bye Jordan. Another first-round pick can always come in later. So, but I do think they're going to end up trying to justify the Jordan Love pick by getting rid of Rodgers, whether it be via trade or release after this upcoming season, because they haven't restructured his contract, so they have a way to do it next year. So and which is sad because Aaron Rodgers has done so much for that franchise. He literally rebuilt that franchise after Favre was throwing picks, like 20 picks a year for like 10 straight years. But yeah, that's the thing. And the other thing is, if he does go, let's say he does go. Let's say Aaron Rodgers is a free agent after next year. What are some landing spots we could see him at? I think the big one for me, because I don't really see this team going in the direction of getting a franchise quarterback this offseason. For me, it's the Patriots. I think the Patriots would and should probably, if Aaron Rodgers is a free agent next year, take a shot at getting Aaron Rodgers because, Belichick, he's not getting any younger. I don't think Belichick is in the mood for, building a quarterback who's going to be good in like 2-3 years. Belichick wants to win now, and he proved that because he spent more than any other team in free agency this offseason. He's out here giving contracts to people like Matthew Judon, like max contracts to people like Matthew Judon, getting his 2 tight end monster with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. So he's proven that he wants to go out there and get as many pieces to win a championship now. And let's say, they ride it out with Cam or whoever this upcoming year. Aaron Rodgers is a free agent. I think Belichick would make that move instantaneously.
You have to look at the personnel. A lot of that is because when you look back at the Brady situation, I think Aaron Rodgers, if they do choose to move on, Aaron Rodgers is going to the thought process is going to be the same as Brady, which is he has to look at all his options. He's going to have 31 other teams that are probably going to show him interest. 31 teams are going to be interested. Obviously, that's a Hall of Famer. And then realistically, he's maybe going to have four to five real suitors, like 4 to 5 real guys that are going to pursue him hard. He's going to have to look at what the organization has, what are the weapons around him? Does he have the offensive weapons and does he have the defense? Because the biggest thing that played into Tom Brady going down there was Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay always had a really good defense. Like they had dudes, all those dudes, they had dudes on defense. They already had the Chris Godwin. They had guys like that. He was able to bring Gronk out of retirement. He was able to, his buddy Antonio Brown. He was able to get him in there, and you saw what happened to the Super Bowl. They got Leonard Fournette. So I think the Patriots to me does sound like the most viable option because it's a system. And Belichick is a defensive guy. So, the Patriots, they're always going to play defense. They're always going to have a top 5, top 10 defense in the NFL. And I think with what they're looking to build, he does have the 2 tight end monster over there, and they did pay those guys big. So he's going to look at a place like that. And plus, I think they just cut Julian Edelman today, which was to free up cap space probably to potentially make another move or bring on somebody who they can, who can help them out. Or maybe they're looking to draft a guy and they need money to pay him. So I do think New England's probably the most viable spot. See, I can't predict the future. I don't know. But as of right now, I think if after this season, if the Packers were to move on from Aaron Rodgers, I do think New England would be, just given what they would be able to put around him and given what we saw with Brady and what went into his ultimate decision to go to Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
If you championship, listen, if you want to win a championship, I know as much as everyone falls in love with offense, everyone falls in love with the Tyreek Hill of the world. There is one thing, and if anyone want to watch the Super Bowl saw, you got elite pass rush and you have a good defense, you can neutralize that offense. And you have a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback throwing to those dudes on the other side of the football, like a Brady, like a Drew Brees, but he's done, and like an Aaron Rodgers, it's going to give you a chance. So I do see, as of right now, I see New England. There's a reason why I think they brought Cam back on a 1-year deal. This is just to, see what Cam can do. Maybe Cam after another year in the system. But if Cam doesn't work out, which I don't really see them jumping. I don't really see them jumping the Miami or Buffalo anyway. I think they're going to move on from Cam. And I think Aaron Rodgers, yeah, I can see that as a landing spot for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think the Patriots have also shown that they're willing and they have rebuilt that defense a little bit too. Like I said, they added I think I said Matt Judon. They added some other pieces. They're also getting a lot of the pieces that they lost last offseason because they had, I think it was 7 starters say no to the season, opt out of the season because of COVID. So I think they're going to be able to get a lot of their pieces back. They're going to be able to not rebuild, retool. And the Patriots, honestly, even this year, with given their quarterback situation with Cam or whoever, I think they're still like a dark horse playoff contender, especially in the 7-team playoff in the AFC. They're definitely because Bill Belichick showed that he's coming back with a fury, and Cam's gonna have weapons that he didn't have. This is his second year in the offense. He's got a little bit more confidence behind him because his deal was obviously worth more than it was last year. He was being paid the veteran minimum last year. This year he's making upwards of $13 million. So a little more confidence for him. And also Bill Belichick, I think this lit a fire. Tom Brady, especially winning the Super Bowl, lit a fire in Bill Belichick. And you saw that fire explode in free agency. And that's what it manifested into. It manifested into them getting Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Matt Judon, all these guys that they signed on these honestly deals that you don't see Bill Belichick going out and having like this type of free agency. He usually does this through the draft. But even Bill knows, he's like, if I'm going to catch up to the rest of the league, I need to take action and I need to do this stuff now. Because look, Bill Belichick's like 70 years old. He knows he's not going to be coaching 10 years from now, probably. So he's like, I have like maybe 5 years at best left here where I'm actually going to be, a hands-on head coach. I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to win another ring and shut up all these people who've been talking crap about, Tom Brady was a secret in New England. Tom Brady was this. Tom Brady was that. And I think he's sick of it, and that's why you saw this. And it's also why you could see Aaron Rodgers next year, if he's a free agent, Bill Belichick be aggressive and go get him.
I agree. Just on another note, when it comes to Green Bay, it does pain me to think about it, but it is true that, and a lot of this has to do with I don't want to say ego, but the front office, like most front offices, they're gonna have to justify that pick of Jordan Love. Like when you make that pick, it's whoever the GM, like the GM has to justify that pick. He has to justify trading assets to make that pick, and that's the thing. And listen, if Jordan Love does take over, it's not like Jordan Love is gonna come in and Jordan Love's not gonna have guys around him. Like they got dudes. Aaron Rodgers has dudes. he doesn't necessarily have like the Clay Matthews, like those guys on defense, but he does have an MVP caliber running back. He has one of the best wide receivers in the game. So Jordan Love is gonna have dudes when he takes over, but we'll see.
If he takes over. Again, that's a big if at this point because we haven't seen him throw a pass in the NFL. So, hey, we'll see what happens with that. Let's talk about the MLB, Andrew. This is some big news that has been not just in the sports news or in the sports world, but also in the political sphere a little bit. But let's talk about it just a little bit because I feel like it's important to touch on. Last week, Major League Baseball made the controversial move to relocate the 2021 NBA All. I fucked up. This is what happens when I do 9 hours of streaming 2 days in a row. Last week, Major League Baseball made the controversial move to relocate the 2021 MLB All-Star Game to Denver away from its intended location of Atlanta. This was a direct response to a new bill that was passed in the state of Georgia that puts severe restrictions on voting that will likely impact low-income voters as well as minority voters. And, we've kind of there's been this conversation in the, not just the press, not just the political sphere, but also in the sports world about, sports and politics and them mixing. And we've seen, I think this is a conversation that I think has been, in the news a lot more than it usually is. Because usually you hear about it in spurts, every few months, every few years. I feel like it's been a constant thing, though, ever since honestly Kaepernick, and I mean constant thing as in it's literally been covered almost every single day, and which makes it kind of different from what we've seen in the past. Like in the 90s, you saw spurts, like I said, but what do you think about them moving the All-Star game? Is this something that people really should be upset about, or is this just what sports leagues do sometimes when they want to make a point? Because we've seen stuff like this in the past.
What I do think is that I don't think necessarily that the All-Star game, I mean, Georgia, it sounds to me like Georgia's having problems in themselves. I mean, right now Minnesota's having problems too. I hate the fact that, it's getting to a point now where sports is being intertwined and is being affected by a lot of the injustices that are going on, a lot of the social justice issues that we have in this country. It's a shame now that when we were having a lot of those issues, like when the COVID broke out and everything like that, the one thing that kind of restored sanity within the country was sports, and now that's being directly affected by these other factors. And I mean, it was the MLB's choice. You know what? Maybe they felt that it was the right decision to make. So I'm not going to question them. I'm not going to question their decision. I do think though that we're going to get to a point where we have to start drawing a line between where sports takes because my viewpoint of it is a lot of professional athletes, which they're using their platform, they're stepping up, they're speaking out on social justice. And I don't know if you're noticing this, but it doesn't really seem like it's working. So after a while, it's going to get to a point where, maybe we let the athletes have a say, but we're going to have to also keep that separate from the actual injustices that are going on. And I don't even agree with the injustices that are going on. I think it gets to a point where, we shouldn't start letting other industries that are not directly related to it be affected. And I think that's what's happening with the MLB now. With the NBA right now, we had the issue in Minnesota right now. Every game, the hockey game, the baseball game, the basketball game, everything was canceled in Minnesota because people were preparing for riots to break out tonight because of what happened in Minnesota. So we're getting to a point now where, the entertainment industry, that's what this is entertainment. The entertainment industry is being directly impacted by stuff like this. And I think that's a problem. So, but with regards to the All-Star game, the MLB, they did what they felt was best for the baseball game. It's the All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? The All-Star game is more for the players than it is for the fans. Right. It's the one thing where it's not for the fans. It's more for the players. So I don't think the players necessarily care where they're playing. The guys that get voted to the All-Star game, they care more about getting voted to the game as opposed to where they can care less whether the game is played in Mexico, They could care less whether the game is played in China, Indonesia. Just getting voted to the game and being recognized for their skill as an all-star, that's what they care about. So I don't think the players necessarily care too much about the game being moved. More or less, the individuals are going to care more about, whether they're actually a part of it or not. So that's
Right.
my.
Right. No, I see that. So, the effectiveness, I guess, of some of the protests, I think you can kind of weigh whether or not or how much they've been effective. I think some people would be correct in the assumption that, while they might bring light to issues, they don't do a lot to actually fix it. But then again, who is it up to actually fix it? It's up to people in power. But going back to like my thing is though, so personally I don't have a problem with the MLB doing this. I don't think anyone who has a problem with this or the idea that sports and the activism or sports and politics have never mixed. That it's not untrue thing. Like it's always been like that. Go back to Jackie Robinson. Look, his signing, Jackie Robinson just happened to be a very good player, but his signing was also very politically motivated as well. He was the first African American to play in Major League Baseball during segregation. It was a big freaking deal. You can go to Fists of Fury at we all remember Fists of Fury at the 1968 Olympics was protesting injustices in civil rights injustices. Either you can go back to what's his name, Abdul Rahif from the Nuggets in the 90s. He was protesting the anthem before Kaepernick. So throughout history, and Muhammad Ali with the Vietnam War and refusing to fight, so this type of stuff has happened throughout history, and so my big problem is when people lie, right, and say that this stuff has never happened in sports, and man, I miss a time when sports and politics didn't mix. Sports and politics have always mixed. Sports and activism always mix because people who once didn't have a platform now have a platform to talk about their experiences, the way they grew up, and things affecting their communities. And a lot of these people just so happen to be coming from low-income communities, coming from minority backgrounds. So, my big problem with this, as far as this goes, isn't at all with the MLB, because the MLB, like you said, they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm not going to talk about the actual law that's being, debated, or because, it's not a politics show. I'm just talking about the sports side of it. It just, when your argument is that sports and politics have never mixed, it doesn't make sense. It's factually incorrect. So, we'll see. But like I
Sports and
said,
politics. I mean,
go ahead.
I'll let you finish.
No, you go ahead. I was on.
Sports and politics, dude. I mean, like you brought light to, Jackie Robinson, the Roberto Clementes, guys like that.
Yeah.
Like politics have always mixed. I think now, because we are in the era of social media and because everyone has access to everything now, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody from across the country says something, like even a bench player, if an unknown bench player on, say, like the Sacramento Kings, or an unknown bench player in Seattle, says something, we know now. Whereas in the past, way back when,
It's more in the public eye.
right. Whereas back then, in the past, during the time of Jackie Robinson, unless, like the guys that, like the big name guys, unless like the Mickey Mantles, unless like the Roger Marises, unless the big name players really said something, there was no light brought to it. So it's always existed. It's just now, because everything is so magnified, especially in the time that we live in today. And like you were saying before, dude, the MLB, yeah, they don't. This was more for the MLB than it was for, dude. Think about how many teams how many teams are there? How many states have a stadium? You know what I'm saying? They could have moved this to New York. They could have moved it anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Also, during COVID, how many states have like the laws where they can actually host like people at the stadium? Like that's the other thing you have to look into it too. But I mean, it's just I like, my thing is, look, the MLB did it, and they're trying to make a point. They're trying to make a point through the power that they have. They have the power to move the All-Star game away from Georgia because they disagree with the direction that the state's going. So
it's not like they canceled it. I think
yeah.
Making a real statement would have been, you know what, we're canceling it. That would have been making a real statement.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it could be, and it could be a sign of things to come. We've seen that other companies are moving operations away from Georgia. That's like a way that politically speaking, that's a way that you can use your power to make a difference and put pressure on politicians. So we'll see about that. I don't want to get again too much into the politics of it because I have my views and I don't like to mix those views on this show because this is strictly sports talk here, or we try to stick it to sports talk. Anyway, Andrew, let's move on and talk about something that you're gonna love to talk about. Andrew, let's talk about it. The Gonzaga Bulldogs once again fell short of their national championship aspirations after being absolutely routed by Baylor in last week's national championship game. The Bulldogs are now 0-2 in national title games. Their other loss, of course, coming in 2017. Andrew, the question on everyone's mind for the past few years is, when is going to be the year that Gonzaga finally breaks through the glass ceiling and wins a title? When is it going to happen? Because there's been talk year in, year out, every single year for it seems like almost the past 15 years of Gonzaga winning a title. They're a contender. They're a contender. And while they are a contender most years, they've never gone all the way and done it. And a lot of people thought if there was going to be a year, it would be the year where all the big names like Kentucky, Duke, UVA all pulled out of the NCAA tournament. You thought it would be this year, if any year, but it didn't happen. You're a Zags fan. Why don't you tell us your thoughts on this?
So yeah, it's really difficult because it's a one and done tournament, and we know sometimes the best team doesn't always win. And personally, I'm going to tell you, I think Baylor was the best team. Baylor did lose 2 games during the season, and they did have a game with Gonzaga that was rescheduled for COVID purposes. But I mean, I think Baylor was the better team that night. Baylor does have 3 NBA ready guards, and they just outplayed the Zags. The Zags were a young team. If you go back and you look at like the rosters and everything like that, even though Gonzaga has been there and this is their second national championship loss, they go deep in the tournament every year. This is a young team. Think about it. They have 1 senior on this team. Everybody else is either a sophomore or a junior, or is either a freshman, a sophomore, or Ayayi was a redshirt junior. So everybody and Nemhard's a junior. Nemhard was a transfer from another guy. He was a transfer from another program, so he wasn't into the system. Like, they integrated him into the system, and he kind of learned the system on the fly, and he did pretty well. But he's not one of those guys that's been in the system for the last 3 years and really, knows it like the back of his hand, even though he did integrate it well into his game and did help the Zags. So it was more or less just something when that game was played. I don't know if you ever heard the adage that experience wins in March, and that Baylor team, they played like a bunch of 21 and 22, 23-year-olds against the younger Gonzaga team. It is what it is. I think Gonzaga is going to reload obviously next season. They have this kid Hunter Salas coming in. I think he's the top combo guard in the country coming in. They're the favorite to land Chet Holmgren, number 1. He's a 7'1" guard basically because he got guard skills. He can shoot the 3, and they have they're the favorite to land this big North Carolina transfer. Not to mention with what they have coming back, they're gonna have, even though Ballo entered the transfer portal, Baby Shaq, he didn't play that much, but they're gonna have Strother coming back, Harris coming back. Nemhard's probably gonna be back next year. Timmy's probably gonna be back next year. They do lose Suggs, which is a big loss, but Hunter Salas, Suggs held the title of highest rated recruiting Gonzaga history until Salas. Do I think Salas is going to be able to provide the type of production as Suggs? I don't know. Jalen Suggs, if you watch Jalen Suggs play this year, that shot he hit against UCLA in the Final Four, that's a big-time shot made by
Huge shot.
So he had a big-time block and a huge assist down the stretch that, got them to overtime, and then he hit the shot to beat UCLA in the Final Four. So Suggs is a big-time player. It's going to be really hard to replace something like that. Even though these guys are all rated high year in and year out, the players coming out of high school, not one recruiting class, not all recruiting classes are built the same. As you saw with Kentucky and Duke this year, they had 2 of the top recruiting classes in the country, didn't even make the tournament. And I was looking back at interviews done by Jay Billis and Dick Vitale, and they were saying that, the difference between this year's Kentucky and this year's Duke and Duke's and Kentucky's of the past was, you look at these guys on Kentucky, they're not Anthony Davis. They're not Karl Towns. They're not Devin Booker. They're not John Wall. Same with Duke. You look at these guys on Duke, even though they were highly rated guys, top 10 guys in their class, they didn't have a Jason Tatum. They didn't have a Julio Okafor, a Tyus Jones. They didn't have a Zion, an RJ. They didn't have guys like that on this team. So it's really hard to predict how good a player is going to be coming out of high school, regardless of how highly rated they are as a recruit. In terms of Gonzaga, though, I think they'll be fine down the stretch. I mean, think about it, dude. Think about with the roster turnover they usually have, because they send guys now religiously every year. They send guys to the NBA. They are able to reload every single year. And based on what they have coming in, what they're projected to have coming in, and what they have returning, they have a lot of guys returning from this team that was in the national championship. They are losing two of their top producers in Suggs and Kispert, and they're losing Ayayi, who has the only Gonzaga triple-double in the history of the program, which is hard to believe, because this is a program that had John Stockton, and Ayayi has the only triple-double in the history of that program. So that's a feat in itself, and he's going to be an NBA player. 6'5", lanky guard, can do everything, rebound, shoot, assist, do everything for you. The question you asked me was where Gonzaga goes, like when they're going to win it. Dude, it could be next year. We don't know. Remember University of Virginia, they got knocked out in the first round one year by UMBC and won the whole thing the next year. So it's a very unpredictable program. We don't know who's going to win. And you know what? Losing this game could have motivated, like, these guys that are coming back, they're going to be motivated. And a lot of people have, they've been like, Suggs for the NBA and everything like that. We have seen guys that were surefire lock lottery picks as freshmen, the Marcus Smarts of the world, guys that were going to get drafted, even Blake Griffin, guys that would have been lottery picks who came back for their sophomore year just because they wanted to prove a point. And Suggs, given the competitor that he is, this loss might not sit well with him. I'm not saying there's a chance he could be back in Spokane next year. I'm not saying he's going to be, but just given the kind of competitor he is, if this loss really didn't sit well with him, you could see him pull a Blake Griffin or a Marcus Smart and be like, nah, I'm coming back for my sophomore year. Let's run it back. So we'll see. I mean, Gonzaga, listen, they could be in it next year. They could win the whole thing next year. We don't know.
Yeah, look, they're always going to be good at recruiting. They're always going to be good at finding talent. They're always going to be good at finding talent in these other schools that are probably more capable of getting these recruits than they are. They're going to be able, because they have some of the best scouts in the game, and that's not the question. I think the question is, when is it going to be like is it becoming like a thing like, oh, Gonzaga can't win it? Like is that becoming the narrative? And I think that it has become the narrative after this year, because I think everyone, dude, anyone who had a brain had Gonzaga in their bracket at least making it to the title game this year, because they were the best team left in the bracket. They were dominating their opponents. So I think, a lot of people had high expectations for them, and they have them for every year. So once you don't reach like those expectations year in, year out, and like it becomes a pattern, I think that's when the narrative changes to one of, okay, Gonzaga is good enough to always be in the conversation but never win the big one. Very similar to, in the football analogy, I guess, would be like the Dan Marino Dolphins, or,
Compare them to Notre Dame football. They're good enough to get there, not good enough to finish the job.
Well, yeah, that's actually true. That's probably a better, that's a better analogy, actually. Yeah, Notre Dame football, whatever you want to call it,
They're good enough. They have multiple pros every year. They're good enough to get to the championship. It's just when they get there, they can't finish the job.
Yep, can't finish the job. So, hey, we'll see. Any last words about Gonzaga or their loss or prospects or anything?
They'll be fine. I think moving forward, they're really good at retooling. They're really good. They always have continuity. Their coach, he's a Hall of Famer, without a doubt. Because remember, dude, for the longest time, the thing was, will they ever make the Final Four? Well, they did it in 2017. And then once they did that, it was, well, will they ever win it? So they've knocked at the door multiple times, dude. They've reached heights that you would not expect a small school in that small conference to reach. And at this point, I think it's just a matter of time before they break through. This year wasn't the year, even though a lot of people are going to say, they blew their opportunity. But hey, listen, like I told you, man, Virginia one year they became the only number 1 seed to ever lose in the first round to a 16 seed, and they came back the next year and won the whole thing. So anything is possible. They could come back next year. They're bringing in this kid Hunter Salas, who's a 5-star guard. They're the favorite to land Chet Holmgren. They're going to bring back a lot of guys from this year's team. They're going to be more seasoned, and they're going to probably land this kid from North Carolina, this big man from North Carolina, this transfer. And one thing that a lot of people will say about Mark Few, the coach, is he's very good at integrating big men. He's very good with big men. You look at some of the big men he's had, Zach Collins, he's had Sabonis, now he's got Drew Timme, who's probably going to be, if he comes back, Drew Timme is going to be the favorite to win National Player of the Year next year. He's going to be the favorite. So he's very good with big man, and getting this guy, I think it's Walker Kessler is the kid's name. He's going to bring that kid in. He pairs him with Holmgren and Salas with Strother and Dominic Harris coming back, and they're going to have a squad next year. So we'll see.
We will see indeed. You know what else I want to see? I want to see anyone watching this, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Y'all can see Andrew's Twitter on the thing. Follow that man. Give him a like. He needs it. The attention.
I really don't.
No, he really doesn't. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about something that not a lot of people are talking about, but we will because we believe that he needs to be highlighted. Let's talk about Teddy Bridgewater, someone who does not get the love that he definitely deserves at this point. But after the Panthers acquired former 3rd overall pick Sam Darnold from the Jets, reports are that they are now shopping quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Now, in case you don't remember, Teddy Bridgewater this time last year signed a 3-year, $63 million contract. And after an up and down year, it looks like his time in Carolina is probably coming to an end. You know, they traded a second-round pick and more for Sam Darnold. It looks like he's gonna be the new stopgap option. He's gonna be the new person who they're gonna see and evaluate where he is in his career and if he's gonna be the guy. And, $63 million, I know backups these days are making, a hell of a lot of money. Chase Daniel can attest to that. But, I think they're probably smart to at least shop Teddy Bridgewater. Any potential takers, you think, if they were to do so? And if so, how much?
I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. You got to understand, there's a lot of flux. Maybe Chicago. I don't know, because the quarterback situation is very sketchy in Chicago with the whole Mitch Trubisky not working out. And another one I could potentially see, maybe Minnesota. I don't know. That marriage might be coming to an end sooner.
They were trying to trade Cousins earlier this offseason.
So that could be coming to an end. Even though who was it? Did Washington sign Case Keenum? Who signed Case Keenum?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard much from Case Keenum. He might actually still be on the Browns, but Washington signed Brian Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, they signed Fitzmagic. So, I could maybe see Washington. I don't know, though, because if they have to trade for him, not necessarily signing him outright.
You not only have to trade, but you also have to pick up that $63 million contract.
Right. So, as of right now, I guess the only two that I can really see, teams that don't really have a franchise or a team that might not be as in on their quarterback as they might have implied, could be Denver. I don't know if Denver is as sold on Drew Lock as I think. Denver could be a potential landing.
That's an option.
Yeah,
I think so for me it's honestly between Denver, like you said, because he has to go to a team that one is not paying their starting quarterback or the other quarterbacks on their depth chart a lot of money. So for me, that would immediately rule out places like Chicago, Washington. It would rule out a lot of other places. But the one place that keeps coming back into my head is actually somewhere where Teddy Bridgewater has had success. It's somewhere where Teddy Bridgewater was just as recently as 2 years ago, the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know they paid Case Keenum that weird contract, but that says it's $120 million, but it's really a $6 million a year deal masked as $100 and whatever million. So I think they have the room, I think, to go get him. And I think they also have the incentive because Teddy Bridgewater showed in that offense with the same players, he actually did better than Taysom Hill. He actually did better than what a lot of people think Winston would be. And I think for that offense, Teddy Bridgewater can do similar things to what Drew Brees did. He have like the biggest arm in the world? No, but he's accurate. It's about timing in that offense. It's about making sure you're able to see up the field. It's about making sure you're smart and and you're able to read the defenses and change the look if you need to, right? So those are all things that Teddy Bridgewater is really good at. He's not good at driving the ball downfield necessarily a lot. He's not consistent with it, but he doesn't need to be in that offense because Drew Brees for the last 3 years of his career, what was he doing? He was throwing like 3-yard slant routes to Michael Thomas. So
that's the offense was.
And yeah, and it worked. It got him to the NFC Championship game a few times. So that's not bad. I think Teddy, when he was there, he went, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he went like 4-1 as a starter. He was very successful in that, and that's what ended up getting him his contract with the Carolina Panthers. So if I'm Sean Payton, and I know that the Carolina Panthers, they're probably incentivized to get rid of that contract. They're incentivized to maybe shop Teddy Bridgewater to give Sam Darnold that little extra boost of confidence. I'd be like, hey, 5th round pick for Teddy Bridgewater, 6th round pick, like something like that, see gauge where they are. And I think it would be smart for them because they're also in flux with their quarterback situation. Like, you can't tell me, honestly, that between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, that you have your guy at the quarterback position.
Jameis Winston, I think the Jameis Winston thing is just based off of I think it's based off of whatever potential they think he can still reach, which I don't know if he really has that much more potential. I mean, even though statistically he is one of the best, offensively, statistically, yards wise, he racks up yards. He does.
He also racks up interceptions, but people like to ignore that.
So that's one thing with Jameis is if they're willing to. I don't know. I agree with that. That situation is very up in the air when in New Orleans, just because Taysom Hill. I mean, Taysom Hill is solid. He's solid, but he's not Teddy.
Yeah, I think Teddy would probably be a better option, honestly. Like, also worst case, right? Worst case scenario. Teddy Bridgewater's contract is also one of those, like, you can get rid of him after a year kind of deals. Like, you can get rid of almost any quarterback after a year these days. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the Chiefs want to get rid of Pat Mahomes, they could probably do it tomorrow. But again, I think if the Saints were smart, and they are, I think, if they're smart, they would look at it as a situation where, okay, we don't know if these two guys are the guy, but there is a person who is successful in our offense, knows the offense, and knows it well, and has some chemistry with these people, with these receivers and these weapons that could come in and also compete. I think, let's say your option 1 in Taysom Hill doesn't work, your option 2 in Jameis Winston doesn't show up, you might as well have a viable option 3 or he might be 2A or 1A or whatever, right? You might as well add another option in there just to see, because you want to give yourself as many options to find your quarterback of the future as soon as possible. And if there's anywhere where Teddy Bridgewater can be successful, if there's anywhere where he can go and make an impact, it's the Saints. Denver, he'll go there, but honestly, he'll just be a stopgap until they pick another trash quarterback next year because John Elway doesn't know how to draft quarterbacks. But, see, I think that gives him the best chance of success and also gives the Saints a better chance of success. So, I think it works for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Teddy situation. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Teddy situation. So Teddy Bridgewater might get traded. One quarterback that also might get traded is the one, the only, Gardner Flint Minshew II. Earlier this week, there were new photographs of a new and improved Gardner Minshew released online. He was seen strutting a mullet in 2021 with a belt buckle, the Ron Burgundy mustache, and a very, very weird white jacket that, I couldn't rock, but hey, bless him for rocking it. But hey, this looks like a very confident Gardner Minshew, Andrew, to say the least. This looks like somebody who doesn't seem like he's on, the trade block. Doesn't seem like he might end up being the third quarterback on his depth chart. But alas, the reality is the Jaguars traded for C.J. Beathard, and you don't trade for a guy like that unless you think he's going to be your backup going forward. and unless you either plan to cut or trade Gardner Minshew. And we know we've raved on this very channel how good Gardner Minshew can be and the potential that he has. But, what do you think about this whole Minshew situation? Because we've seen the number of teams that need a quarterback now. Those teams are dwindled. There's only a few options out there. I have a few names that I think could still be viable. But again, as more time goes by, as the closer they get to drafting Trevor Lawrence, the more this window closes for Minshew.
So first off, I'm going to preface this by saying that when I saw those pictures of Gardner Minshew, I'm going to be honest with you, they terrified me. I'm serious, dude. Like, when you look at his eyes and you see the confidence in that man's eyes, he's not just confident. Dude, that is you know what level of confidence I see out of this man resonating? I see defensive player wearing a single digit. I see that type of confidence. Because how do you know a college player is tough when he's a defensive player and he wears a single digit number?
That's true. He's got that going for him. So he's got now with the trade spots, I don't know, because I don't know how these teams are going to value Gardner Minshew given the season that Jacksonville was coming off of last season. I don't know how much they're going to value Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew was good enough to play in this league. A couple of takers. I mean, if any teams do end up trading for him, they would probably trade for him in a backup role. They'd want him in a backup role. So, realistically, anybody. After seeing those pictures, though, I would love him in Nashville. They would love him. They would love him in Tennessee. With those pictures, abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah.
I mean, listen, with what's going on, first off, they would never trade him in division. So those three teams are out. Tennessee doesn't look like they're shopping for a quarterback anytime soon.
You know all well they're not shopping for a quarterback anytime soon.
Indy's not looking for a quarterback after the money they just took on, that contract they just took on. Houston, I don't know what's going, because Deshaun Watson just made it damn near physically fucking impossible for the Texans to trade him. So yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, he can go anywhere. I mean, I like to see him out west. Get him back out west. He went to Washington State. He was a stud for Wazoo. You know what? People are saying there's speculation that Russell Wilson, his time might be coming in Seattle. Get him up there. Get him back. Get him back in that state. Get him back in Washington.
Well, we'll talk about Russell Wilson because there was actually some news that came out earlier this week on him. But for Minshew, I think he has a little bit more flexibility as far as which team he goes to, more so than Teddy Bridgewater does, because he doesn't have that contract weighing him down. All you have to worry about with Minshew is the draft pick that you give up to get him. So that's why I think teams like Chicago are still very much in play. I still think Chicago is the best landing spot for him. If he goes to Chicago tomorrow, that team is infinitely better. Yes, he will be a much better option quarterback than Andy Dalton. He will be a much better option at quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. He'd be a much better option quarterback than any quarterback the Bears have ever had. But I think...
Not Urlacher? Even Urlacher?
Urlacher was not a quarterback. Well, he was a quarterback of the defense, but that's neither here nor there.
Who was the quarterback of that team that went to the Super Bowl? Not Urlacher.
Rex Grossman.
That's what I was thinking of. Grossman. My bad.
He's definitely better than Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman he didn't carry that team to the Super Bowl. He was carried to a Super Bowl. But for Minshew, I think
that team then.
Oh, that's true. Devin Hester too. But for Minshew, it's Washington is still in play as well. I think he could probably. There'd be a little bit of a controversy between him and Fitzmagic. We know last year that was like the big game, the beard game on Thursday Night Football to begin the year. That was a big deal to begin the season. Denver could be an option, but then again, we saw what they did with Case Keenum. All the potential he had, they ruined it. So, but Chicago, I'm always going to come back to Chicago. They have the defense. They have the weapons surrounding him. If they draft offensive line in the first few rounds and get some help for him, as far as blocking goes, and he's also shown that he can be okay. He can be effective as a quarterback without having the best offensive line in front of him. That's the reason the Jaguars are drafting number 1 overall. They also benched him for that reason, so they could get the number 1 pick. Remember that. So again, Chicago, I think they have a chance to make the playoffs if they make this move for Gardner Minshew. The other option that goes in my mind is the Patriots, but I don't know if they've shown that they want to go in that direction. I think they're content with riding it out with Newton, riding it out with Stidham, and whoever else they have on the roster.
Studham. You mean Jared Studham?
Stidham. Did he do anything this year?
No.
He threw a pick six. I think the one pass I saw him throw, it was a pick six.
I think I watched him. Yeah, I think that was the highlight of his season. I think the pick six might have been the highlight of his season. Jared Studham.
He went from heir apparent to Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback in NFL history, to nothing so quickly.
He stud him.
It's the greatest fall from grace for someone who was never at grace. Like, oh man, Jared Studham.
A&M quarterbacks, man. Gotta love them A&M quarterbacks.
Yep. Speaking of quarterbacks, though, quarterback you mentioned earlier, Russell Wilson was in the news earlier this offseason. His camp came out and said that Russell Wilson might be demanding a trade. There were rumors that were flying in Seattle about this, but it was cleared up this week when Carlos Dunlap told reporters that Russell Wilson said that he will be back for the Seattle Seahawks next year and does not plan to seek a trade, putting an end to all the rumors, putting an end to the speculation that he might go to Minnesota, that he might go to Dallas, that he might go everywhere else in the NFL, because we love to speculate in the offseason. But Russell Wilson staying put, and I did a video where I talked about, the fall of the Seahawks dynasty and why Russell Wilson actually should be asking for a trade. It doesn't look like that's happening. Andrew, what do you think about this? Should Russell have made the decision to stay in Seattle, or should he just have used his leverage and said, I want out?
You know what? I think Russell, I mean, at this point, what's funny is people have always been like, there's this thing about Russ where it's always let Russ cook. Let Russ cook. And I don't think the let Russ cook thing was always necessarily like a Russ carries that team, because realistically, they haven't been the same team since the Legion of Boom dissolved. Like, the defense is nowhere near that level. And I do think Russ is a very talented quarterback. But at the same time, I don't see him fitting anywhere. Like, I don't see him stepping in. It's the same situation with like Rodgers, where like if Aaron Rodgers were to leave Green Bay, he's got to make sure he's going to a team that's got a top 5 defense, and all those teams that have that caliber defense already have a quarterback, a lot younger, face of the franchise quarterback. So do I think Russ should ask for a trade? I mean, he can ask for that trade. Where are they going to send him? I mean, I don't know where Russ's preferred landing spots are. And I don't know how he would fit. Like, he was never really a pocket passer. You know what I'm saying? He was more of a scrambler. He doesn't scramble as much anymore. But as you see, dude, when he only scrambles really in the fourth quarter. And as you see, they're not like that. That's his most effective. He's most effective when he's scrambling, which he doesn't do as much anymore. And as you see, dude, they have not been the same with him doing that. Like, so I don't know where he would fit in. I mean, I guess he's a taller Kyler Murray, but do you honestly think Arizona would move on from Kyler Murray to bring that guy in? I don't.
Hell no. And they're in the division, so that would like probably never happen anyway. But I mean, for me, like in the video I did, I mentioned how the Seahawks, they literally piece by piece tore that team apart. And Pete Carroll played a huge part in it because he basically pissed off all the best players on that team. Pissed off Marshawn Lynch when he didn't give him the ball at the 1 yard line. He pissed off Earl Thomas, obviously. He flipped him off. That was his parting gift to Pete Carroll. He flipped him off before he went to Baltimore and then, became the best tag team partner a brother could have. But you saw repeatedly, though, these players kept leaving. You saw repeatedly his players called him out in the media when they left. So there became a culture where Pete Carroll became toxic. We know that a big problem that Russell Wilson has was with Pete Carroll's son, who's on the coaching staff. So I think there's too many dots there that connect. There's too many things there that connect back to Pete Carroll that show the situation has to be right now at this point. You have to choose if you're the Seahawks organization. Are you choosing Russ or are you choosing Pete Carroll, and who's your future? And it's obviously Russ. And if the Seahawks don't realize that, then it's up to Russ to take it into his own hands and say, look, we were supposed to have a dynasty, and we had all the potential to, but it was because of this coach. It was because of the ineptitude of this ownership for keeping this coach, even after all the bullshit that he put us through. It was up to this organization to keep that core together. We weren't able to do it, and it primarily falls on that coach. So, ultimatum: Pete Carroll leaves, or I am publicly demanding a trade, and I'm out of here. And I know Russell Wilson isn't the type of person to do that, take that harsh action. He'll have his people do it though, which is fine, as long as the message gets across that either the Seahawks need to move on and find a coach that actually the players actually like and that people want to play for, or he has to move on. And he's like, I will start anywhere. But the fact that they ruined the dynasty that the Seahawks should have had, there's no way that team should only have one Super Bowl. It's a travesty that team does not have one, that has only one Super Bowl. Because they had too much talent. They just had way too much talent not to.
And they haven't been since.
No, yeah. They have not been the same since. It's been solely on Russ's shoulders, and they've given him nothing. How much longer is he supposed to just keep heaving the ball up for Tyler Lockett as his only receiver? Like Doug Baldwin isn't even there anymore because he had to retire. So there's nobody else surrounding him.
He's got Metcalf.
Okay, yeah, DK Metcalf came on last year, but still, you know what I'm saying? It's not the same. The defense is virtually non-existent on that team. Russell was arguably the best defensive player on that team because he's playing so much offense. Literally. It makes no sense that the Seahawks have not gotten rid of Pete Carroll at this point. It's made no sense that the Seahawks or Russell Wilson, honestly, has not asked for a trade. And again, I know he's not that type of player. I know he doesn't want to, ruffle feathers. But at some point, for your career, for the Seahawks organization, dude, this might be a wake-up call for them to be like, hey, mate, we gotta do right by the guy who literally is the franchise. We have to do right by him. So, like I said, if I was Russ, I would have done something different. But he seems content to keep going forward and keep playing in Seattle. Hopefully they fix it. I don't think they'll be able to, but hopefully they fix it.
This isn't the first time we've seen an organization do that to their franchise player. Remember Calvin Johnson?
Well, yeah, that was just, but they never had any potential to begin with. To be honest, this kind of reminds me more of the Knicks and what they did with Porzingis. Except Porzingis actually demanded a trade.
No, with where Calvin Johnson left just because he was so fed up with the organization. He left over $1 million. He left over $1 million. They won't pay him $1 million, and they won't even invite him back. They would rather have Creed perform at halftime than invite Calvin Johnson back. He's literally the greatest player they've ever. He's literally the best player they've ever had. And
that's why the Lions are one of the worst organizations in sports, not just football, in sports.
And the Fords, I think the Seattle is taking a page out of the Fords book, and we're like, you know what, Russell Wilson, arguably the best player we've ever had. Let's just piss him off. Let's waste away his career. Let's piss him off. At least Russell won. Detroit never gave Calvin a chance to win. Yeah,
they never did. They never gave Calvin a chance to win, just like the Knicks never gave Porzingis a chance to win. But
an asshole.
He
was an asshole.
Yeah.
He had around him now. He still can't win. That was on him. He wants back. Now he wants back in after he sees what we've built there.
He does not want back in. He definitely does not want back in. He wants no part of New York. If I was a player, I would not want any part of New York either. Just saying. No offense.
We got good now. The Knicks are good now.
Well, you know who's not good? The Golden State Warriors. After they lost James Wiseman to a season-ending knee injury, the core with Klay Thompson, who was injured before the season, and now Wiseman's injured. It's basically Steph again by himself, and a lot of people are now speculating that Steph Curry might be demanding a trade, might be on the move soon. There's outrageous rumors, just completely outrageous rumors that he wants to go to the Lakers, which if you even follow Steph Curry or listen to a word he said, like one word he said throughout his entire career, you would know why that's just flat out incorrect and that would never happen.
It's Nick Wright trying to speak his fantasy into existence, which
Yeah,
is happen.
Yeah, Nick Wright is the bootleg Stephen A. It's like because he doesn't even have real sources. At least Stephen A. I believe Stephen A. does have people that he talks to.
I think he
I
misses them sometimes for
that
his
does
own personal like.
yeah. Does he make them up sometimes? Yeah. But Nick Wright just makes them up. Nick Wright just says whatever's on his mind at all times, and just hopes that it'll stick and people will take him seriously because he's not Stephen A. Smith and he's not saying it like Stephen A. Smith would. But that's neither here nor there. But the idea that Steph Curry would, leave the Warriors to go to the Lakers, completely stupid. Like this is like look, AD leaving the Pelicans was at least viable because people you could believe that AD would want to out of New Orleans to go play with LeBron. Steph Curry is a former MVP. Like he's not going to play with LeBron. He's already said that he's gonna be with the Warriors. Like he's gonna ride or die with the Warriors. He said that multiple times. Like emphasize that every single year, and yet people don't listen. Like why do you think that is? Like what do you think about this?
Well, for starters, I think the majority of the media, the national media, today's NBA, they are all so far up LeBron's ass for reasons I will never understand. I'm sitting is LeBron paying I'm sitting here I'm literally looking at some of these media personalities. I'm like, does LeBron have dirt on you that you literally suck him off at every chance you can get? Like, what is it about LeBron where this is another guy? This is a Hall of Famer. This dude right here, Steph Curry, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Greatest shooter the NBA has ever seen. And he's made it abundantly clear he's not leaving Golden State. And off the chance he does leave Golden State, he's definitely not going to the damn Lakers to join the dude that he kind of, I don't know if anybody watched those NBA finals between Cleveland and Golden State a couple years ago. Steph Curry and LeBron James do not like each other. I don't know if you could tell just by watching what went on the court. Some of the stuff that was said, between the two on the court, they don't like each other. So I think a lot of this stuff has to do with the media and just they're so hell-bent on trying to they want LeBron to be the GOAT. It's one of those situations where they almost they want to weaken every other team and take the best player on every other team, give them to LeBron, and then when the other teams can't compete with LeBron's team because the best player on every other team is on LeBron's team, then they want to say, oh, look at what LeBron did. We have to crown him the GOAT. Meanwhile, they want to give him 7 Hall of Famers on one team and and make it sound like he did it by himself. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. Now, with regards to Steph Curry potentially asking out, I don't know if Steph wants out of Golden State. A lot of that depends on, is Steph content with, his resume? Is he content with playing out the rest of his career in Golden State? Is he content with, basically being mediocre for the rest of his career? Because you got guys like Chris Paul who have never won, where Chris Paul is looking to go to a team that's going to give him a chance to compete. Hence why Chris Paul, LA Clippers, Thunder, Phoenix, he wants to make sure he's got a team around him that's going to give him a chance to at least compete. Steph is a different animal because he never has he doesn't have a finals MVP. He's got 3 rings. He's got 2 regular season MVPs. Going to go down as the greatest shooter ever. It's going to depend on what Steph wants. I'm just saying this as a Knicks fan, if Steph were to wake up one day and say, you know what, I do want to win. I like what they're building in Miami. I like what they're building in New York. I like what they're building, here. It could be something like, my dad played for Toronto, so I'm going to sign there. My dad played for Charlotte, so I'm going to sign there. They have all the pieces. It could be something like that. But everyone talking about him going to the Lakers, come on. That's just, and my thing with that is how much more help does, how how much more does LeBron need? Because you want to give LeBron another Hall of Famer, but you know what the narrative's going to be? It's going to be the media narrative is going to make it sound like LeBron did it. They're going to make it sound like LeBron won the championship with a bunch of college kids instead of, 6 Hall of Famers.
In case you can't tell, guys, Andrew does not like LeBron James. I don't, it's not even about LeBron for me. It's simply about just cap versus the truth. And whoever's saying this, whether it's Nick Wright, whether it's Stephen A., whether it's whoever, does not matter. This is cap personified. He is not going anywhere, all right? Like, at least anytime soon. He's not going anywhere anytime soon unless the entire organization somehow implodes, which, look, we've seen organizations and dynasties implode. That happens. But he's not going...
He's still recovering. My organization is actually...
Your organization has not had a chance ever since your owner took over. But look...
It was draft RJ Barrett. Because
yeah.
that fucking come out.
Oh yeah, RJ Barrett is like the only thing the Knicks have had to look forward to.
The best thing we've ever fucking done was drafting.
Anyway,
drafting Ewing. The best thing we ever did was draft that fucking kid.
Yeah, and it's really sad that his career is probably going to go to waste too. But going back to Steph, like this is again cap personified. Steph is not going anywhere. This is the guy who bleeds that yellow and blue. He was not gonna go anywhere. It doesn't matter. Klay's probably never gonna be the same player again. I think people agree with that. Hopefully he is, but we don't think that's likely given the fact of just how frequent his knee injuries have been and the degree of his knee injuries and everything. It's gonna take him a while at least to get back to at least that all-star level that we're used to seeing him. So. Even given that, and even given James Weisman, tearing his meniscus, even given all of that, and the fact that this team, even recently has not been playing that well. Like they're not playing well. Given all of that, I still think Steph Curry will ride it out for at least the next few years. And if he leaves, it's not going to be to go join LeBron. Steph Curry, he's not gonna go. That's not the way Steph Curry will go. Could he go and join? Like someone like Devin Booker down the line, like a younger guy, maybe he might. Yeah, he might be like hey, Porzingis or Luka, what are you doing? Like that's like, but that's different. It's not joining LeBron James.
Honest in Milwaukee, you know what I'm saying? He could go. He literally, dude. He could wake up one day and be like, hey, my dad played for Toronto. You know what? Let me go help them rebuild. My dad, because his dad.
Let me go do what Kawhi refused to do and just have a whole country behind me.
Yeah, he goes. His dad played for the Charlotte Hornets. He could sit there and you know what? I like what LaMelo's doing. I could compliment LaMelo. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go there. His dad played for Charlotte too.
Like I feel like, and dude, these are people who are paid. We're not paid to do this. These are people who get paid to talk and write about sports and cover sports. And this is the shit that's coming out of their mouth. Like. Steph Curry can't just go from the Warriors to the Lakers tomorrow and like just like that. Like that's not happening. The Warriors would have to trade him. And what do the Lakers, one, have to give up in order to get him? And two, how the hell is that cap going to work? Because Steph is a max player.
Yeah, they're paying him a payroll. He's fucking 70% of the payroll is going to him. So
it makes zero sense. And the fact that these clowns like Nick Wright, these clowns like Stephen A., these clowns like whoever the hell else, like Shannon Sharp, whoever wants to say that, oh my God, like everybody's going to go join LeBron or everyone's going to go join Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, which, okay, that might have happened. But you get my point, Like it's cap. These they're just saying shit to get clickbait. It's shit that we probably should be doing so we could get more clickbait, but we don't because we have brains.
When you look at the guys that went and joined Tom Brady, outside of Gronk, how many of those guys had ever won before? Like when you think about that, how many of those guys had ever won before?
Oh, none of them. No. I'm not even talking about winning. I'm talking about talent. Like there were a lot of people who came to Tampa Bay to ring chase, but even then, it's not like like you're having like Aaron Donald and like DK Metcalf and all the the best at their positions going there. You're having people who,
Khalil Mack taking a league minimum to go to that defense.
No, you're not having that happen. But you're having people like Gronk, people like AB, people like Mike Evans coming back on a favorable contract. Well, Leonard Fournette. You're having people who have talent who can contribute greatly to that offense. But no, like this is cap. This is like probably the dumbest thing I've heard in a long time. This is like literally this is the dumbest thing I've heard since I heard that people were saying, "Oh, when LeBron is going to be a free agent in 2018, 2019, he's going to go to the Knicks." LeBron was never going to go to the Knicks. I'm sorry. He was never going to go to the Knicks.
Dude, we didn't I don't think people have realized, in order for LeBron to go join a team, that team already has to have, like, there's got to be certain requirements on that team. He has to already have another dude who is either an all-star, like who is either a young guy who's going to be an all-star that year, or he has to have ready-made all-stars there for him to go join. Look at Miami. Before he signed for Cleveland, look, he had to make sure. He already knew Kyrie was an all-star, and he made sure they had to get Kevin Love before he put pen to paper. So that's how LeBron rolls. LeBron wasn't coming to New York. Hell no. What did we have in 2018?
You had Porzingis. You had half of Porzingis, injured Porzingis.
He was hurt. So we didn't even have it. We traded him while he wasn't even on the court.
You had Frank Ntilikina.
We had Frank Ntilikina, but that was about it. I think we had just drafted Kevin Knox. Like, I think we had just drafted. That's what I'm saying. We had just so we didn't even have any dudes that would have enticed him to be like, oh yeah, I see potential in that team.
You didn't even have dudes that you could trade. Like we drafted Andrew Wiggins and were able to turn him into Kevin Love. You guys didn't even have someone who you could do that with.
Our version of that was when we drafted RJ, and even then it was like, we didn't even know what RJ like. I knew RJ was going to be good. I didn't know everything. I had faith in RJ. I didn't know RJ at 20 years old was going to, be fucking hitting game winners and shit. I didn't know RJ was going to be that good where, like, next year he might be an all-star. Like, I didn't know. If you look at RJ's numbers, dude, the jump in every statistical category that dude has gone up. Like, that dude's almost a damn near 40% three-point shooter. A year ago, that dude was throwing balls off the side of the backboard. He was shooting threes off the side of the backboard a year ago. Now he's damn near a 40% three-point shooter. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, my theory on the Knicks is they're going to show you just enough potential to keep you a fan so that Nolan can get your money, so he can get your jersey money, you can get your tickets, and then they're still going to disappoint every year.
You heard it here first. The best thing we did was draft R.J. Barrett, because what's going to happen? New Orleans is going to fuck up the way they did with Anthony Davis. They're going to fuck up the way they did with Anthony Davis with Zion. And we already have the key cog. Zion will be a Knick 6 years from now. And we're going to get Lonzo at the end of in the offseason.
This is the same shit that people were saying with, I swear, I'm sure if I look through my old phone, I could find a video of you saying this exact scenario, except replace Zion with KD and replace RJ with Porzingis. I think this is exactly what Knicks fans were saying about KD coming to New York because of Porzingis like 3-4 years ago.
That was before we realized Porzingis was an asshole.
And how soon is it going to be before you realize RJ Barrett is also an asshole?
He's not an asshole. He wanted to be in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely do guys want to get drafted to this dumpster fire that we have. Very rarely do guys want to come to this.
There has to be a rule where the fan base can outlaw or banish an owner. There has to be a rule for that to save fledgling fan bases like yours, because man, I'm honestly telling you, RJ could show all the potential. He could be an all-star. He could be all NBA. I'm telling you, you're going nowhere with that management. Nowhere. Because no one there's a reason KD didn't want to go there. There's a reason KD didn't want to go there. And it wasn't just because you guys traded a person who he liked in Porzingis. It was also because of your terrible ownership.
He's an asshole.
Yeah. Look how he treated who was it? Who did he kick out of Madison Square Garden, and that made a whole controversy?
Who hasn't been kicked out of MSG? Security tried to kick Patrick Ewing out. He kicked out Oak. He kicked out Spike Lee.
He kicked out Spike Lee. Literally, the dude's been buying season tickets for the past 50 years, and
but he unbanned Latrell Sprewell.
I don't think that's not a good trade-off. Oakley, Ewing, and Spike Lee that's not a good trade-off. But yeah, that's the deal you're dealt, man. Hey, start a petition, Andrew. You might actually be able to get it off the ground.
Oh, it will be like Detroit Lions fans. If Detroit Lions fans, listen, they won't have drinkable water in Detroit, but if they had to get that $1 million, they will get that money. That $1 million to Calvin Johnson. They will get that $1 million to Calvin Johnson like that. They won't have drinkable water, but they will get the money to Calvin Johnson.
I have more confidence in Detroit actually spending money on water than I do the Lions baiting Calvin Johnson out of retirement. But
not baiting Calvin Johnson. The actual citizens of Detroit will start a GoFundMe, and they will raise the citizens of Detroit will start a GoFundMe and raise the $1 million themselves to get the money to Calvin Johnson.
Rip. R.I.P. All right.
Drinking water, but they will get the money to Calvin Johnson.
Yeah. Moving on. Controversy struck the 9th inning of the. Oh, go. God. Oh, I need water. Hold up.
This is why I stay hydrated.
Oh, yeah. I don't stay hydrated the same way you stay hydrated. Anyway.
I ran a 7K today, so I'm
proud of you. Really proud of you. Get a big round of applause for Mr. Andrew Hohenstein.
I earned this.
Sure you did. All right, so big news out of the Braves-Phillies game. It ended in controversy. Controversy struck in the 9th inning as Will Smith took over the mound for Atlanta and allowed a leadoff double to Alec Braum. Braum then moved over to third on a ground out and then the fly ball went to home where Braum was tagged. But the ruling was that he was safe, despite replay obviously showing that Braum was never touched the plate. So the play was ultimately upheld after review, even though, again, it showed that Braum never touched the plate. He was tagged out, and it clearly showed that. But yet, the run stood, and the Phillies took a 6-7 lead and the win. So that was the big controversy in this game. The Braves fans were pissed. Braves management and coaching were pissed. Braves players were pissed. There was one, I believe, Braves player who said there's no point in the replay rule if you're not going to overturn blatant calls like that. So, and I think they make a good point, Andrew. Is it time for Major League Baseball to get rid of replay?
Absolutely not. I think they should expand replay, as a matter of fact. Listen, the umps got it wrong. I am not actually the person that you should ask about this particular game because I don't know if you know this, but in terms of baseball, Johnny could even verify this, that every fan base in the National League East, and this is a universal truth. I think every fan base in the National League East actually hates each other. So,
yeah. I can attest.
I hate both of these teams. If I could have it my way, they would have both lost this game somehow. If I could have it my way, I think they should expand the replay, though. I think sometimes replay, like, for example, I know everyone has been on this shit about the fucking Mets and Michael Conforto leaning into that ball the other day.
Oh, he did. He totally did. That was bull. Even Johnny, who's a big Mets fan, said that was bullshit, but he'll take it.
I agreed. Listen, if I had it my way, Lindor would have hit a 3-run home run. They wouldn't have walked Lindor. If I had it my way, Conforto wouldn't even have been up because Lindor would have hit a 3-run home run and we would have won the game. But you know what? It is sometimes replay. They have to expand replay to stuff like that because if they would have expanded replay, if replay was expanded to the point where they could go back and say, no, you leaned in at a pitch over the plate, that's strike 3, sit the fuck down, then that's different. I think they should expand replay. I don't think they should get rid of replay. I think they should expand it, actually. And I just gave you a prime example as to why. The Conforto play is a reason why they shouldn't put limits on what replay is allowed to.
Okay. So that play is definitely not, in my opinion. But, no, I think...
But if I had it my way, both these teams, Philly and Atlanta, fuck Philly, fuck Atlanta, they both would have lost.
Agreed. 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 As a Nats fan, I agree.
People don't realize that every fan base in the NLE, I think it's the only division.
Dude, nothing brings me more joy than seeing the Mets fuck up.
Dude, I think every division out of every sport, the only division in all of sports where every team, maybe the AFC North might be the only.
Oh no, no. All those fan bases hate each other.
Every fan base hates each other. The National League East, I think, only division in baseball. Every fan base hates each other. We don't mind the Marlins until they get good. Then we all hate them too.
Yeah, the poor Marlins.
We don't
Anyway,
because they suck all the time. But once they
so
get good, oh, we all hate.
I think I don't think the conversation is realistically about getting rid of replay. But the point that that player was trying to make was that if you're going to have these replay mechanisms in place, if you're going to have the ability to look at something and the ability to overturn it, then you should overturn it when it's blatant. And in this case, it was pretty blatant. Like, objectively speaking, Brom never hit the plate. Like, he was tagged out. You could see it with your own two eyes. Look at every camera angle. It shows the same thing. But the fact that they didn't basically calls into question their entire mechanism of replay. It's very similar to, like, remember when the NFL for that year tried that challenge rule on pass interference calls?
The dumbest shit, by the way. That was the dumbest shit.
It was so dumb because even the blatant calls of pass interference didn't get overturned, and it's a very similar principle at play here. So I think the sentiment is right when you're saying that you might as well not have replay if you're not going to use it in these types of situations, especially when the game is on the line like it was. So I think that the umps got it wrong. That's first and foremost. The umps got it wrong at the plate. They have replay. They should have. There is no excuse. There's zero excuse for them to not get that play right after review. Because anyone who looks at it, even a baby who looked at it, could tell you that guy was not at home. So this is a serious problem we see, though, in sports in general, too, about, just impartiality and how far to go with replay. I'm for expanding replay because in certain situations, because I don't think it's going to add that much to the game. Like, it's not going to add hours to the game or anything like that. I think it's just better overall to get it right. At the same time, though, I think umpires also see replay as umpires and referees see replay as an indictment of their judgments and their calls. Therefore, they're less inclined to reverse it. So if I'm the MLB, I would think of, taking the umps completely out of it as far as replay goes. As far as replay goes, not out of the game. As far as replay goes, and having someone in New York or wherever the MLB office is just call it when it's a replay call. Why? Explain.
Because as somebody who recently just got into the game of betting, I can assure you that in reality, Vegas actually dictates how a lot of these games end, by the way. So,
is that did your bookie tell you that?
I don't have a bookie. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So let's go to our final takes. Andrew, I have one thing to ask you actually in these final takes. What do you think about you hear that Arod? So Arod is apparently trying to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves. Him and an ownership group are trying to get the Minnesota Timberwolves. What do you think about that?
People were happy about it. I mean, he's gonna buy the Timberwolves. I just think, for what reason? Like, he has no.
Oh, he just wants to own his team. He missed out on the Mets. All right, so he's just like, I want a team. I'm Arod.
He has no ties to Minnesota. Like, Magic Johnson doesn't know about baseball, but at least Magic Johnson is like one of the faces of Los Angeles sports. Like, he's one of the faces, being the dude he was for the Lakers. This dude, I could understand if he bought the Rangers, or if he bought he has no tie. If he bought a team to, unless he's gonna take them and move them to Seattle, which he does have ties to.
Interesting.
Like, he has no ties to Minnesota. I think it was really dumb because he doesn't know anything about basketball. He's a baseball player. And I don't know if you've ever heard his commentary about baseball. He's annoying as hell. I mean,
oh my God. Arod, like, hearing Arod speak. Arod was an amazing player, one of the best players to ever play the game. But Jesus, when he opens his mouth, it's just like, dude, stop.
He
please.
critiques every fucking player. I'm like, okay, dude, like you you didn't make an error. Like you never made an error. Like you never struck out. Like, come on, man.
Dude, and you know what's weird? Every time I hear A-Rod speak now, I just like immediately go back to that interview he did when he was accused of taking steroids, and he just vehemently said, he's like straight face, like, did you take steroids? No, I did not. That is an insult to me and my family. No, I did not take steroids. A week later, he admits to taking steroids. Like, it's just like it's just like, you have zero credibility, dude. Like, and as far as him owning owning, the Timberwolves. Again, he has no ties to the area, like you said. It's just a move, though. I mean, like, look, does Stan Kroenke really have ties to the? Did he have ties to the St. Louis Rams when he bought them? No. That's why he moved them to LA. Did he have ties to the Denver Nuggets? No. Kroenke, Arod doing this, it's a very similar thing. He just wants to own an NBA team. He wants to say to his friends, "Hey, man, I own an NBA team." Like, that's what he wants to do. So, and it's fine, but at the same time, is he going to make a difference with the Minnesota Timberwolves? No. I don't know. There's apparently this crazy theory. Oh, Arod is going to fix everyone's problems by buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. All of the Timberwolves' problems are going to be solved. No. No,
the most he'll do is he'll move them to Seattle, which still has been begging for a basketball team, and he has ties to that city. That's the only thing that I could think of.
Yeah, it's like literally the only direct action he could do. And even then, like, the NBA has to sign off on that happening. And I don't know if they're going to let, like, a team in Minnesota, which is actually, all things considered, Minnesota, as far as like one of the low-key markets, they're pretty, like, that's a good market for an NBA team. They like the Timberwolves there, even no matter how much they suck. And they suck year in, year out. So, look,
KG left.
They had hope. They had hope. They had hope one season. That 1 year.
We're an 8 seed. 1 year.
1 year. They had
Timberwolves, and they
remember when they signed. They had Kevin Love, then they signed Brandon Roy after like all those injuries. People were like, Brandon Roy is the solution to Timberwolves problems. It's the same thing. Arod is now Brandon Roy in this scenario. Like, he's not gonna do anything. Again, most he's gonna do is move the team to Seattle. Even then, like, that's only going to sell tickets in Seattle. It's not going to fix the actual organizational structure of that team. That team's still going to be trash. But yeah.
There's that. So what's next? We have final takes?
Yeah, this is final takes.
Oh, okay. So you want my final take?
Sure.
I have a very quick final take. It's on my fucking New York Mets. I don't know if anybody...
I was going to ask you about that anyway, so go ahead.
With the fucking New York Mets, can you score a fucking run for DeGrom? How many fucking... If he is not scoring... Unless the dude scores the RBI by himself, they can't give him runs. It's so sad how him and Mike Trout, two of the best players of this generation, are literally having their fucking careers wasted. I'm going to speak about this. I'm a New York Mets fan. I have been watching this now for 6 fucking years. I have been watching them waste Jacob deGrom's career. Like, when it's all said and done, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. And one World Series appearance. I don't know if he's ever going to get back. I hope so. But can they score a fucking... Dude, this dude struck out 14 fucking dudes the other day. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says. They lost 3-0. No. He lost 1-0. He lost 1-0 to Miami. The bullpen gave up 2 runs in the 9th. No. He lost 1-0 to Miami. That should never fucking happen. With the money that they paid, they just gave Lindor an extension. I know Davis got hurt. They brought in VR. Pete Alonso is the polar bear, one of the best hitters in baseball. People have argued he's the best hitter in New York. Conforto is a fucking all-star who people are like, they should extend him. He hasn't done fucking shit. The only dude that's done anything for that team hitting-wise, 2 of them have only done anything hitting-wise. Brandon Nimmo, and the other one is DeGrom himself. DeGrom, I think, might have the most hits in the fucking team, which is messed up because he plays every 5 days. And I think he's tied for second or third for most hits in the team. That should never fucking happen. Score some fucking runs for the dude. I'm getting sick of watching this dude post a fucking 10-7 record because he loses 1-0 games or 2-1 games. I'm getting sick of this shit. I'm getting sick. This dude, realistically, if they hit for him, this dude should win 15 to 20 games every fucking year. With the ERA and the strikeouts and the way this man pitches, this man should realistically win 15 to 20 fucking games every year. That's all I'm going to say.
So, yeah, DeGrom is like actually one of your best hitters. It's kind of wild.
Unless he's hitting the dudes in himself, they're not scoring runs for him. I think he had the first RBI of the season. I seriously think DeGrom had the first RBI of the season, I think. And they lost that game. And it wasn't even his fault. He didn't give up a single run, and they lost that game.
Dude, I just think, look, I know I'm a Nats fan, so this probably is not best hearing from me, but I'm just saying I legitimately think you guys are cursed. I don't like. I don't think like I think there needs to be some witch doctor bullshit done to kind of undo whatever curse was put on your team since like the 80s or whatever.
We
But
hit
you're
for Stroman. We hit for Stroman. We literally hit for everybody else except DeGrom. We hit for Stroman. They used to hit for Harvey. They hit for Syndergaard. The only dude they don't hit for is DeGrom. The only dude who doesn't give up fucking hits or runs, they don't hit for. It doesn't make any fucking sense. People have called it the first of DeGrom. People
also.
I think when he cut his hair, I think when DeGrom cut his hair, that was it. He might have gotten better as a pitcher, but the team got worse as hitters.
You know, you mentioned Mike Trout, man. You know what I just realized? Mike Trout, I think he's like turning 30 this year.
Mike Trout has had his entire career wasted.
Literally.
He's going to go down as one of the greatest players to never win a playoff series. He's not the greatest player to never play a playoff game. I think that's Felix Hernandez. Might be the greatest pitcher to never actually play a playoff game, which is fucked up.
But like, no, as far as like Mike Trout's career, dude, like three think about this, dude. He's a 3-time MVP. Like, what is he? 8, 9-time All-Star at this point. Like, made the All-Star game every single year. The dude, and the only help he had when he got there, it was who? Albert Pujols, like a whatever.
He was already like 36 years old. Like
36-year-old Albert Pujols on a 15-year deal.
Yeah, Pujols was already like his career was already over.
His career was over 2 years into that contract.
Yeah, they really, the Angels have done nothing to give him anything. It's just sad. Like when I look at Trout, it's like Trout had his career wasted. I'm looking at someone like DeGrom. It's the same deal. We don't deserve. We do not deserve. We don't deserve 14 fucking strikeouts, and he lost. He gave up 1 run, 14 fucking strikeouts. I think he leads the league in strikeouts. By the way, I think he leads the league in strikeouts and doesn't have a win. What the fuck?
I think DeGrom's probably going to be in store for more of that throughout the year because you guys just can't get anything right.
I think he leads the league in strikeouts, dude, and he doesn't have a win. That's fucked up.
Yep. That's the trials of being a Mets fan. But Mike Trout, man, he actually, I think he legitimately might be the like he might be like the next Ken Griffey. He really might be like the next Ken Griffey Jr. because just wasting an entire career.
Well, no, that Griffey was different because Griffey actually carried the Mariners organization. They made the playoffs. They won playoff games.
Well, how many times has Trout made the playoffs?
I think once or twice. The one year I think they lost in the wild card game. The other year they lost in the division series to I forgot who they lost to, but they made the division series and then they got destroyed. It was bad. Right.
Like so for me, I mean, I just think Mike Trout is probably like he's just so talented. He's so talented. Like this dude, like we have not seen like a player like Mike Trout, I think. And like you said, his potential is wasted. His career is being wasted. The dude is 30. He does not have that many good years left, dude.
I think Harper was just as talented. I think the Nationals, because remember the Nationals were so bad for so long, they were actually able to draft and put a team around that dude. Hence why, and then
then he just left.
Harper himself was the reason why they didn't win. By the way,
I agree with you to this day. I agree with you. I don't know what it was though. But literally, we get rid of Bryce Harper and we win a World Series. We go and look like I might be capping here, but the Nets go on literally one of the most historic, one of the most like long shot runs to a World Series we've ever seen in baseball.
They beat. This is the wild part about that run, dude. The Astros were cheating, and we knew this.
Yo.
Every game that the Astros were cheating in was the game the Nationals won in that series.
And every game that the Astros weren't cheating in, they won. I'm so thankful that the Astros had home field advantage in that playoff series because if we had had it and we had played back in DC in Game 7, we would have lost. We would have lost. Eating a mean L. Like I remember being in one of those games for the World Series, like in DC, and it was just like, dude, oh my God, the deflation at our performances in the district, it was bad. We couldn't do anything. That's why I was like, but again, like yeah, we beat them while they were cheating. But I also big shout out to the fans of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Big shout out to them. They were throwing those rubber trash cans onto the on the center field. Big shout out to them. I loved seeing that, and I'm also loving the fans that are booing the Astros because they didn't get their well-deserved boos last year because it was COVID Mickey Mouse year. So keep on booing them. Keep on booing those Astros. Let them know that they should not be playing baseball.
But it's just a shame though, because you see dudes that are ultra talented and they're having their career wasted, and like I listen, like the only dude I think that's even remotely as talented that came in the same time as Trout was Harper, and Harper
Was wasting our time.
Like had a team around him. Harper was the problem on that team. I don't think Trout's the problem on that team. He just doesn't.
He's like the only semblance of a solution on that team.
He just doesn't have anything. So I fear the same for DeGrom. Like, I watched the Mets 2015 playoff run. The only reason why we even won on that fucking run is because we started hitting. If we don't hit, we're going to lose. We lost the wild card game. Noah Syndergaard gave up one hit through 8 innings, struck out 12 Giants, and we lost the game. We lost 3-0. He didn't even give up. He gave up one hit. The bullpen blew it for him in the 9th inning.
Big note to all the baseball players watching: when your team hits, you have a better chance of winning. Don't be the Mets.
When you have pitching, when you have pitching, and you hit, pitching plus hitting is the formula for winning.
Pitching plus hitting equals dub. That's what we learned today here at Real Take Sports Talk. Andrew, any more final thoughts, final takes, anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Why the fuck is RJ Barrett keep being left off these fucking lists, dude? Did you see the NBA release that list of like top 25 under 25 players?
Was that the one? That was the one where Stephen A. Okay. Sidebar. We'll get into that list because I do want to talk about that. But really, big sidebar here. How in the hell does Stephen A. like get away with this shit on TV? How does he get away every day, coming to work every day on national television and accusing his coworkers of being on crack? How does he get away with it? Bro, imagine, legitimately, imagine you're Max Kellerman. You go into work knowing every day, like you're getting up in the morning, putting your tie on, you're like, damn, today I know I'm going to go into work and get accused of smoking crack or weed. Even though I don't do either because one person disagrees with me. And it's going to happen on national TV. That's what he did when that list came out. He said, no, these people must be smoking something and it's not weed. It must be a little bit stronger. And even Molly was like, yo, stop accusing people of smoking crack. What? What's his problem? You can't just say they're wrong and then tell people why they're wrong. You have to accuse everybody who disagrees with you of smoking crack.
I think the fame went to his head. I think once you got to understand, dude. I think he's the highest paid employee in ESPN's history.
Mm-hmm.
I think once that direct deposit hits, and his bank account looks morbidly obese, I think his head kind of. I don't know how he walks into work every day. I don't know how he gets it through the door because his head is like this.
Biggest ego in the game, man. That's why I'm glad Skip Bayless didn't go back to ESPN.
I mean, dude, when I saw that list, listen, I can understand if RJ is not, if he's averaging 6-7 points a game. This kid is averaging 18 points a game. He is the legitimate second option on a team that will be a fucking playoff team, averaging damn near 20 points per game. Why is RJ not a top 25 under 25 player? Now, okay, I get, Luka, I get. Zion, I get. Booker, I get. Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, that was the one I was like, Mikal Bridges.
What?
Didn't they also, didn't they have De'Aaron Fox rated above Booker?
It might
That's
have been
wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. They did. That's wild. That's literally, to quote Stephen A., that is blasphemous.
Pull up this list. Let me pull up this damn list.
Hold on. I'll pull it up from the screen. Don't worry. Give me a second. Like that list needs to rot.
I mean, some of the dudes I agree with. Some of the dudes, okay, like I'll give it to some of these dudes, but
Oh yeah, they had what's his name? Not Lonzo, his brother. They had his brother ranked like 5 on that list, which is like, come on.
Come on. Look at this. All right, Luka,
Hold
I'll give Zion. I'll give Luka, Zion, okay. LaMelo, okay. Donovan Mitchell, okay. Jason Tatum, fine. Fox is rated ahead of Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, and Brandon Ingram. No, get the fuck out of here.
Cap.
Simmons, Devin Booker. All right, Bam Adebayo.
I'll give you even Simmons, but not over Booker. Like that's blasphemous, bro. Like
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. All right, I don't think he should be top 10 over Jaylen Brown and Brandon Ingram. Hell no.
No, Brandon Ingram. They underrated Brandon Ingram so badly in this list. Like Brandon Ingram is a star.
This one's my favorite. When I get down this list, all right. So Michael Porter has shown flashes, but John Morant, okay, I'll give it to him. Trae Young's averaging damn near 30 a game. His team can't win a game, but he gets his, so we'll give it to him. Mikal Bridges and Domantas Sabonis are on this fucking list. Come on, man. I'm a Gonzaga fan. Sabonis? Bro.
You know what? I might have to take that back. Stephen A might be right. These people might just be on crack.
Dude, mind you, RJ is averaging almost 20 a game. He's averaging 17.8. So 18 a game on a team that will be a playoff team. They have Jared Allen and John Collins on this list over RJ Barrett. What? They have Jared Allen rated ahead of Colin Sexton. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
People were paid.
Dude.
People were paid to make this list.
You know what's wild? You and I are agreeing on this, so it must mean that there's something seriously wrong with that list. Because you and I don't usually agree on basketball at all.
People were paid to make this list.
That must be one dude. That must have been one easy ass job interview.
ESPN people were cut a check by ESPN to make this list. RJ Barrett is dude. They have Jared Allen and John Collins rated ahead of Lonzo Ball and Colin Sexton. Are you kidding me? So bonus, they have Anthony Edwards on this list. Minnesota's going to have the number. Mind you, how many number 1 picks does Minnesota have on that fucking roster? And
how many more do they need, bro? How many more do they need? I'm a Cavs fan. I'm a Cavs fan saying that. How many more do you need?
Minnesota's going to have the number 1 pick again. And Anthony Edwards is on this list. RJ is averaging almost 20 a game as the second option on a team that's going to make the playoffs, and he's not on this list. He's only 20 years old, by the way. If I can understand if RJ was 24, and we have 6 years of film on him. RJ got half a season last year because the season was cut short last year, and he has a full season this year, and he's not on this list. John Collins, who they were shopping because they really have his future. He has no future in Atlanta. John Collins is on this list. Sabonis, Mikal Bridges. So you're telling me if you were to go start your organization right now, if you were going to rebuild an organization, you would take Mikal Bridges, who gets carried by Devin Booker and Chris Paul every fucking night, before you take a dude who's averaging almost 20 a game, and the second option, who literally comes up clutch for the Knicks, who hit a clutch 3 last night, who hit a shot against Memphis the other night to force overtime, 20 years old, 20 the other night, 19 last night. You're going to start your organization with a 23-year-old Mikal Bridges over a 20-year-old RJ. A dude who gets carried, and another dude, you're going to start your organization with a dude who gets carried by 2 future Hall of Famers in Devin Booker and Chris Paul, instead of a dude at 20 who pretty much is carrying in RJ.
You want to hear some breaking news?
What?
Julian Edelman just officially retired.
Oh, because he got cut.
Well, yeah, he failed his physical, and I'm assuming it's because of his injury history and all that. He retired. Tom Brady just said, "I was witness to so much of the journey, and I am so proud of you. So Julian Edelman has officially retired from the NFL. Breaking news. This just into Real Take Sports Talk.
I give it to like week 9, week 10. He'll be a Buccaneer.
You think he'll come out of retirement to be a Buck?
He'll be a Buccaneer.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, well, Julian Edelman to me was always like one of those, like, you know what he is? He's Wes Welker, except he actually won. That's Julian Edelman, and that's a good thing, like because that was what they used to call him. They used to call him Mini Wes Welker because he was just like the white possession receiver, like aside from Wes Welker on that team.
Because he had balls. He will line up it. He had the balls to line up in the slot and run across the middle.
Oh yeah, he would get decked. I remember seeing like Ray Lewis deck him so many times on that. Like, and that was back when like you were able to hit like in any way you want. That was back when there were no restrictions.
By the way, do you remember earlier this season? Not earlier, but like when Cincinnati played Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. And Juju got fucking wrecked. Like, Von Bell, because Juju came across the middle, and Von Bell fucking wrecked him. That should have been a penalty, by the way.
Probably should have been.
Oh, yeah, but...
Probably. But, I mean, look, Juju also deserved that on the other end, because...
Juju had it coming.
Okay, look. As trivial as it sounds, like, you and I can attest that, you know, logo stomping and disrespecting logos, it's serious business. If you do it... What?
My team did it in Baltimore.
Look, here's the thing. If you do it, you at least no. Here's the thing. When you do it, you have to show it up. You have to show up on the field and actually do your job. If not, don't do it. Like, as much as I hated the Titans doing it, they showed up that day. They won that game. And then what do we do? When we won, when we sealed the game, we stomped back. All right? Yes. There's an art. All right? There's an art to disrespecting logos. You don't disrespect the logo when you haven't been having a good season, when you haven't done shit. Your team is, they're 11-0, but they're a weak 11. They're like literally probably weakest 11-0 ever, and like they lost to the Washington football team with half of an Alex Smith, like the team never showed up. Juju didn't play well. That's why he decides he wants to go back to Pittsburgh instead of taking more money to go to Baltimore or taking more money to go to Kansas City.
Because those teams, listen, I mean this. Juju knows he's not going to get away with that shit. If Juju goes anywhere else, he knows he's not going to get away with that shit.
Oh yeah.
He knows because he's already seen. Listen, I've talked to people who have told me, like people like from Pittsburgh who have told me Juju's an asshole. Like Juju walks around Pittsburgh. He walks around like he owns the place. I'm like, no, Mean Joe Green could walk around like he owns that fucking place. Troy Polamalu could walk around like he's the mayor of that fucking city. Juju has done nothing besides dance on logos and be a cancer. Basically, he did what Antonio Brown, just be a fucking diva.
Juju Smith, look, Juju Smith is literally what like every Pittsburgh wide receiver that they draft is. Go back to Mike Wallace. Go back to Emmanuel Sanders. Go back to Antonio Brown. A few good years, then off the team. Watch.
It's not like that.
Okay, but every receiver sends Hines Ward. Like, that's what they are. That's their pattern of drafting receivers. They draft them, they keep them around, they have productive years, and they go sign a max contract somewhere else. They're not as productive, or they're out of the league for a while in Antonio Brown's case. And like with Juju, it's like, look, say what you want, it's loyalty or whatever. It's dumb that he didn't. Honestly, okay, if it's dumb that he didn't go to the Chiefs. If we're being real.
Look at all the max money. Look at all the money some of these other receivers who, in Juju's mind, he will tell you he's better than. Look at all the money these other dudes. Look at all the money those other dudes got. No, Juju went back to Pittsburgh because Juju knows Pittsburgh is the only place that's going to put up with his bullshit, and I don't know how much longer they're going to put up with his bullshit.
And you're seriously telling me, like, okay, he wants to say that, well, I'm going to prove it in Pittsburgh, and then, then they'll pay me after that. First of all, Pittsburgh's not paying you. Pittsburgh is not paying you max wide receiver money because they're going to get another wide receiver just like you. They're going to get another Martavis Bryant that they're going to get rid of in like 3 years. But
Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell had that same mentality, and look at what happened.
Yeah.
Juju replaced Antonio Brown, and James Conner replaced Le'Veon Bell.
And look, if you're Juju and you wanted to put yourself in a position next year to have a max contract or a better contract, you would think that the team that has just been putting up monster stats, the team that just can't seem to find enough talent on wide receiver with the best quarterback that we've probably ever seen playing the game, you would think that you would go to that team so that you could put up a bunch of yards in an offense that disproportionately throws the ball more. And like
2 catches from you a game, that's it.
yeah, and you're still and you're still averaging like 80 yards a game. You're gonna get 1,000 yards in the season. You're gonna get a better contract than you are in Pittsburgh, because in Pittsburgh you're gonna get like what, 700 yards. You're probably gonna get injured. Your quarterback is gonna fall apart. Big Ben's playing until he's 40, but Big Ben has not put himself in a position where he can play till he's 40.
They already have their wide receiver 1. It's Claypool. It's
not Juju. Yes, they already drafted Claypool. They're not even going to need to draft anybody. They have him already on the roster, so it doesn't make sense, man. Juju Smith-Schuster, man, he's just coming across as a geek. You know, he's seriously coming across as a geek, who just like he's so self-righteous, man. That's what he comes across as. You can't wipe that away easily. But he's got to show it this year.
That's my rant on Juju. I saw him run across the middle when Von Bell decked him. I'm not gonna lie, I shed one tear, but it was a tear of joy. I was like, he finally got it. He finally got what was coming to him.
Nice.
Von Bell being an Ohio State guy, I was so happy that Von Bell, and I was so happy that there was no flag thrown, because even the refs were sitting there like, yeah, you had this coming, you fuck.
Speaking of having this coming, I think we have the end of the show coming up. Andrew, final thoughts.
No, I got all what I wanted off my chest. I just want the Mets to score runs for DeGrom, and that's about it.
Well, that will likely never happen.
No.
Well, anyway, Andrew, it was nice having you back, bud.
I know.
Yeah. You bring you bring the anger back to the show. The anger that we've been missing.
It was a fun time.
Yep. Hey, and you're going to be around for our draft episode, too.
I'm a New York sports fan, so you know.
Yep. Anyway, you can follow Andrew right there at his handle right there at Illy Penny.
It's Lil, and don't take anything I say serious on that app.
Don't take anything we say serious on that app either. Twitter is just for fun. No good can come out of 140 characters at all. But you know what good can come out of? I messed that up again. Don't stream for 9 hours a day, 3 days straight. It will mess up your speaking. It's probably good that this episode is coming to an end, though. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. Andrew, we'll see you next time. I will also see you guys next time and every day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Real Take, Wrestle Talk. Going to break down everything from WrestleMania. Going to break down everything that is going to go on in AEW later on this week. And all the other stuff. That's tomorrow night, Real Take, Wrestle Talk, 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. Catch the replay of this episode if you missed it. Right here. Just go back. And we'll also clip this throughout the week. Have some new videos posted every single day. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you can get those daily videos every single day. Real Take Sports Talk. We're keeping it real goes right. We'll see you next time.